Welcome back, dear friends. It's another day. Even more excitingness, look at that. Remember I was spraying the inside black to stop any light leaking through from the LED, and then I sprayed it with brass. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that lovely reflection in the darker, salubrious end of the workshop because of the shelf, the wonderful hanging storage shelf. I'd love to have more space, but needs must and all that. I've got all these painted up and they're all ready now to assemble to the next stage. So pushing bearings in, fixing in the PIR sensor, all sorts of stuff, and then as they all get assembled, fix them onto the wooden base. It doesn't get much better than that. Or does it? There's these two boxes that I said I was going to open last time and then didn't. What's inside these? Lovely brown paper. This is what I ordered. Oh look, there's sockets, plugs and sockets that I used to get from dear old Maplin Electronics before they shut down, and these are perfect because they fit into plumbing fittings. I'll show you how to do that later, but very, very helpful for power connecting those hoses up. And then, oh look, I thought I'd run out of them, so I thought I'd get them from a reputable dealer, because you're never quite sure what you're going to get on eBay and stuff. But there's the lovely stepper motors. They're so well geared down. I think they're geared down to about 2,500 and something or other. One to that anyway. So they go very slowly, very accurately, and lots and lots of torque. And they come with the necessary UL 4000 or something interface chip, so you can connect that to the Arduino, and it's got 4 little flickering lamps, which is really helpful, so you can help if something goes wrong, you can help to see where the problem is. And then of course, oh dear friends, the Arduino Mega, the proper one. I saw where I was buying these from, CPC or something, that they sold ones that weren't proper Arduino ones. They were made by third parties, and I've heard all sorts of reviews from people who say don't. They say they're going to work in exactly the same way, but they're not 100% reliable, and I want it 100% reliable, so I've paid, I think, double to get the proper ones, but they're standard price. I think they're about, in the UK, about £35 or something like that. Well worth it though. Lovely, so that's all the exciting. There's the other one for the clock, which I'm going to make after this. So that's that one. Let's open the other one. It's also interesting, the Scribulator, because it's the one machine that I've designed without having any clue as to how to make it work. I thought about it and I realised that if I could get some sort of writing implement to be able to travel over the whole of a drawing surface, it must be possible with the wonder of mathematics to get it to write and to draw anything you want. Ho ho ho. So I've built the whole thing first, plugged in the laptop with the Arduino development thing on it, and then lots and lots of googling and lots of spaghetti drawings later, slowly managed to get it done. I'm not very good at maths, so it was lots and lots of looking up trigonometry and things. I've got some more of these gate valves because they are so useful. They're the ones that I fit the encoder inside so that you can twist them around, and again I'll cover that when it comes to it. There's the wonderful LSX Fernox sealing paste. Amazing stuff. It's so good. If you've got a leak, for example, in a radiator, you can get a coin, put a bit of this while the radiator's on with water leaking out, squidge the coin over the hole, it will seal it. Very interesting as well. This is a very good indicator of things like Amazon and eBay and other plumbing suppliers, just how much they want to rip you off. This you can get for about £1.40 for a tube of it. Or if you look on eBay, as I did last week when I was looking up stuff, and Amazon, I think up to about £20 you can pay for it. What good value, 20 quid, just amazing. You've got to shop around. Anyway, there are the other plumbing fittings and things, so that's really good. I've got everything I need to start putting the whole thing together. Where to start? Well, the beginning is a very good place to start. And this lovely template with holes to mark out the different salient bits. I've left off quite a few things, but We'll get them marked out and drilled, and then we'll start getting bits together. Don't use too much glue. Don't use too much glue. So what do? Use too much glue. And it came through. To stick the bearing in, I put four little drops of glue, super glue, by some little semicircular cutouts, and it ran through. And I'm trying to spray it because it really is glaringly obvious, but I think I'm going to have to sand it down again. What a joy. But these are going well. These two work perfectly. You can see there's the thing that I turned up last time, the spindle with a 5mm offset hole at the bottom. So as you turn it, it moves about 2mm, which is perfect because then you can adjust the tightness against the disc that these three are going to support, the writing disc. And a couple of brass washers on just to get the spacing correct. And then the things with the bearings, then you tighten them with a lovely brass dome nut. Isn't that lovely? So that's perfectly tight but can spin beautifully freely without wobbling or anything. So here's the next bearing system, which uses two bearings. Fix that. If you remember, we turned that down. There's 6mm outside diameter, and the bearing 6mm inside diameter goes on there, and that little rim at the bottom just holds it away and supports it on its middle bit so it's free to turn. And then this bit has got the slot machined in the back for the first bearing, so we put that over here, trying to do it without looking through the camera. Right, now that's lovely. That's actually more than lovely. I'd forgotten about when I made the last one of these, and I just stood here and spun things because it's just so satisfying. But it can wobble, well, that way, and obviously we don't want it. So we put the second bearing in the top. That is a thing of beauty, and all the light reflecting off it. Oh, what joy. And now you see you can hold all that onto here really nicely by having one screw that just bears down slightly, not too firmly, just touching this top centre bearing, and it can't go anywhere and it can't do anything except that. Can't wobble. Oh, right, give me a few moments while I sit here and just keep doing that. Fabulous, because now I've got that on, it means I can get the rest of the scribe on. Most importantly, it means I can now position this first stepper motor to drive this. I'd forgot the counterweight, or whatever you'd call it. With mechanisms like this, where there'll be quite a lot of sloppiness, especially with all the gears in the stepper motor, it's very important to take up that slack. Hence the fact, a lovely lead counterweight, which screws on. It's one actually made for not tapestries, curtains and things. They sell quite a lot of interesting lead weights and stuff for upholstery. But now, look at that. That's always going to take up any slack. It's always going to be bearing on one side of the gear. Oh, it's just, oh, lovely. Right, let's get the stepper motor and bits on. What I meant to say, before I got carried away, is that it's lovely. I love things like this because that's necessary. It's not just decorative. In fact, none of this is really decorative. It all fulfills a function which I absolutely love, and also it just looks so nice. The two little brass screws holding it in place. It's the real deal. It's lovely. Heavens to Betsy. Last time making this, or a couple of times, 3 times before, without any copious notes, I think I I just didn't bother drawing notes. It's so annoying. I'm now obviously realised I need to line up the centres of this, and then know which teeth to engage. So I've counted them up. Zoink. What's that? It's 14 holes. 14? I've just written 9. Oh, what? Have I got it wrong already? Oh. Well, luckily I noticed. 0 to 14 slot holes and 1 to 9 there. They should line up. I've somehow translated that over here into 9, which is correct, and 19. What? Oh, I've misread it. That'll learn me. That's not 19, that's 14. Oh, dear, oh dear. But this has been designed with nice big holes and big plastic spaces on the top. Again, adjustment paramount. So I can loosen these and then slide it back and get it just engaged so it's not binding and it's nice and free to turn. That's the slop I'm talking about. The amount gained from the gap between these gear teeth and all the little gear teeth in here. But if you have a nice lead weight there, it always pulls it that way, so it takes up any slack. Thankfully, I also realised that I need this corner cut right away, and funnily enough, when I checked on my original one, it's been cut away to allow room for this to turn far enough so that this, with the pointer, the scribe, actually points down to this top engraved hole. These are the holes that I think that's normal running, and it's setting hours, minutes, days, months, years if you need to, but because it's got a real-time clock in, it shouldn't need to be reset. Anyway, I'm very pleased with that now. I will go and make the changes to the drawings on the computer. Oh, and there's the Microswitch that I'm using. Not a reed switch this time, because it doesn't have to keep going all the way around. It only has to go back, and there's a little bung there just to push on here so that the Arduino knows when you first switch it on, it'll turn it to anti-clockwise until that switches, and then it knows to where it is and can move it around accordingly. Another day, another load more exciting bits. The copious scribblings are coming on, a nice accurate record for future reference. And I thought, before I went any further this time, usually I do the mechanisms first, but this time I thought just cock a hoop, so to speak. I'd put all the electronic bits in. So here are the 4 lovely interface boards for the 4 stepper motors, one of which is there, one of which is there. I've yet to fit the other 2. And the way I do it, because I like doing it like this, is I attach different colour wires to each one, and then basically just feed them around. I'll create some sort of block, like bus bars basically, so a load of variable or something, so that I can bring all the red ones to one side, all the black ones to the other, which is all very satisfying, and then finally work out which ones of the connections, the 54 I think it is on the Arduino Mega, actually need to go where. Lovely Arduino Mega. The nice thing is, cunning plan, there's an eel down here which I've made a very long thin USB plug so I can plug it in, which is very handy. I can get it all done, and even if I need to change the code a bit once it's finished, just plug that in there and then I can program it externally. Now what I'm going to do today, I'm going to start off by making this bit. I was going to do it yesterday, and then I noticed that there were some blemishes on it, and we can't have blemishes. I thought I'd sanded off the little scratches, but this particular plastic, I think I said it was ABS, is prone to scratches. So back to the drawing board, well, at least the wet and dry paper, and then now it looks beautiful. So I'm going to get that together with a PIR sensor and one of the stepper motors, the other stepper motors in there, and then I'll get back to you. Oh, and here's the lovely lampshade that we were talking about. Look at that, doesn't that look beautiful when it's sprayed up? And here's the inside of the lampshade. Very good quality, warm white. Cold white looks horrible, but warm white looks lovely. Keys LED, and the great thing about these LEDs is that they've got countersinks? Heat sinks on the back of them, as you'd expect. But they've also got a little transistor and a couple of resistors, so you can control them. You can wire this straight up to the 5-volt supply, and then there's a signal wire that you can connect straight to the Arduino so it can fade them up and down. Really handy. And soldering that onto a piece of error board, so the connections are on the back, and then gluing that in, just cutting it just so it's wide enough to fit in the 15mm copper tube, means that, and stick it in with super glue, means it's really solid, and it's a lovely way to do it. You can still even angle it a little bit if necessary, but that's great, and there's lots of room for airflow around the back to keep the cob thing, the LED cool and everything. And I've wrapped the wires, just because I like to be ever so precautious, in this nice spiral cable management system. Here we are, that's fitted on. Cunning way of doing it. I think I might have to zoom in a bit actually, because it's so fiddly with these really small brass screws that have to fit through the printed circuit board. I cut out 2 little bits on the laser cutter from 5mm acrylic and got it to engrave the shape of the nut, so I could push a nut in halfway through, glue these two onto the back of the printed circuit board, and it works really well. It means I can just hold that in place and screw it on them from the front. It doesn't matter if it's at a slight angle, it looks lovely and it works really well. I've cut a big hole out of a Paw Patrol thing, magnetic scribbler. You can see the white liquid that suspends the iron filings. Very clever. I assume it's all non-toxic. But I've done that in order to do this. For some reason I was putting this off doing this. I think because it's quite fiddly, because you need to seal, I needed to, after I'd cut it, seal it with the Fernox LSX sealant and glue the little bit on around here, the 2mm bit, and then put the back on and then tighten it and make sure I had sealant a little bit round each side, just to make sure. I think each individual cell is individually sealed, but better to be safe than sorry. And around the outside there are all the lovely engraved markings to enable you to set the time, date, month, year, something else, whatever. I'm very pleased I've got that done. Not so pleased about this, because having got it all together, the screwdriver slipped when I was tightening something and gouged a little line across there. Oh, how we laughed. What a joy to behold. So I've had to sand it down again and sprang it up, hopefully for the last time, but you can see how the motor just sits in there nicely and the PIR is there. So I'm going to take the dog for a walk and then get that fixed down once I know that the paint is set. The brilliant thing, another brilliant thing about this Plasticoat brass metallic paint, is that it's set solid enough to sand and to touch and stuff after about 20 minutes, which is fantastic. Being impatient and regularly scratching things up and putting fingerprints on them, it is a joy to only have to wait 20 minutes to be able to do it all again. Before I can really get any of these arranged, I need a way of coupling 4mm steel shafts or brass shafts onto the end of a couple of these motors so I can extend them across and check it's all lined up and square. I've ordered some because I stupidly didn't remember that I had run out, and I'm fed up with waiting, so I'm going to make some of my own. About 20 minutes later of machining. What a joy. It's so lovely working with brass. So there's a 5mm hole at that end that fits over the output from there, the stepper motor. And because it's got two flats, I've put two grub screws in so I can get that really nice and tight. And then the other end is for 4mm rod, and that just needs one. And that's the one that's going to be seen, so that needs to look very pretty, which it does. And there's the other one that's hidden right at the back, which I haven't bothered to sort of tidy up. Now we can get things laid out. There's the simple way of achieving things, and there's the steamhead way. Like I said before, none of this is going to be seen because it's hidden behind the writing disc. But in there we have a microswitch, so when this is lifted or allowed to, no, when this is driven back by the cam there, it clicks that, and then the wires go through a lovely brass tube, because obviously being steampunk, nothing must give the impression or hint as to it being using electrotrickery and things. It's got to be hidden away. It's a nice brass pipe for that, and it's nice as well with steampunk machines, as with old Victorian machines where they had limited sources of power. They'd have lots of drive shafts all over the place, so that looks nice. There's the linkage that I made. That goes through. There's the offset, the cam with the bearing on the outside that bears down on a brass drawing pin, thank you very much, that sits there. And then this lifts forward and drops backwards, and onto there I'm going to fix one of these. Here's one I haven't cut up earlier. So I'll put this on the front. Look, it does that. I'll put it on the back. Isn't that amazing? The wonder of children's magnetic toys. So anyway, stop doing that. It's quite enjoyable. I'm going to get that glued onto there and then get on with the next bits and bobs over here. What fun this has been. Oh, most enjoyable day. So I've got that shaft now all lined up, and I've got the magnet and the reed switch built inside here with the wires going through the lovely copper pipe along with the wires coming to the beautiful lamp. Beautiful. What's that? Oh, it's the knot. And that's finished, and the wires are multiplying as always. Doesn't it look lovely, the mixture of brass and copper? It's just with a bit of steel, stainless steel or chrome or whatever through there. Lovely. Now it's time to put this on, because to line up the final motor that rotates this, I need this in position, hence the fact I'm showing you this before. It is no longer visible unless I've made lots of mistakes and I have to take it all to pieces again. But we'll see. Watch this space. Luckily, I've just remembered something I'd forgotten to do. We have a switch there to let the Arduino know where the position of that motor and that cam. We have a microswitch here for that motor. We have a microswitch under there for that motor. Where is the final read switch? Well, it's going to sit here, and we need some way of triggering it. And I'd forgotten to stick this little magnet in its acrylic holder on the back, and try as I might, I have made absolutely no record anywhere of where it should go. So I had a look at the one that's sitting on the kitchen wall, and I found, rather sensibly, well, for want of something better, it lines up perfectly with the 60 minutes, and glues on the back. That's what I'm talking about. It was one of the first things I had to solve, issues, how to get something like this to rotate whilst keeping the back completely free, and the front obviously. So these three pulleys work beautifully. It just spins round, and then that magnet comes past. Now, next thing to do, after I've taken the dog for a walk, is to mount the final motor here. And there we have the final drive. I'm very, very pleased with that. I've even put a little gem in there that looks nice. There's the gear, and the motor sits so beautifully. It's lovely designing things like this that fit together so beautifully, with little cutouts for the nuts in there. There's the reed reeler at the front, reed switch sitting there, so as the disc turns, that magnet I stuck on will line up with that, so it knows where it is. And as with all these bits, I've drilled the fixing holes larger, and this has a plate on the front, so that there's a little bit of give. If I need to adjust the gears slightly further apart or closer, I can do that, which is very important. Let's get that mounted. Well, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're finding it all interesting. I am, especially as I can't remember how to do half the stuff. It's all coming together nicely. Next time, stylus and learning it how to write. Oh, and I've got to add that valve as well with the encoder. And the power connectors. Oh, there's so many other exciting things to do. Very good progress today, though. I'm thrilled. If you like this, please remember to click subscribe and like, and the bell and other bits and pieces. As always, if you've got any questions about this sort of thing, please get in touch in the comments. I'm always happy to help. There's more information on all these inventions on my website at steamhead.co.uk. Thanks again. Hope to see you next time. Shiny things. Ooh.